identify and create a custom natural holistic strategy to resolve them. As a health coach, I am not allowed to say I treat, cure, prevent, or diagnose any diseases. Just remember that I can make your body more efficient by reducing symptoms with good nutrition, nutrients, and coaching for mindset and emotion. And I have exciting news. My book became the #1 bestseller on Amazon. And there it is. And you can purchase my books for $20, or you can purchase for $25, where I can sign it for you. And the way you order it is to email me from my link tree, which is www. Well, actually, it's https :// Debi Debi Changes Changes Lives Liv as in Victor es.com /link tree. And it's 25 women that share their stories about their journeys and transformations. And my story is in there too, rising above overwhelm to empowerment. Another exciting thing I have going right now is the tickets are still available for Ben Fuchs' live event in Huntington Beach, California. He's a compound pharmacist. He is a fitness, health, nutritionist, and skincare expert that talks about the triangle of disease. And he offers solutions for immune health, digestive health, blood sugar malfunctions, thank you, and also cognitive and mental issues, as well as joint and nerve support. It's in Huntington Beach on November 11th, where he's actually going to talk at 11 a.m. Doors open at 10 a.m. And you can still buy tickets. The ticket sales will end tomorrow at https://bit.ly/Ben, capital BEN, and then capital FUCHS, capital L and I, lowercase v and E. Tickets will be higher at the door if they're available. So another thing that I, really am passionate about is that I want other guests like me who are passionate about improving people's health and getting them through their health journey. And what is really wonderful is I met Talaya Dendy. She's a cancer doula, and I was kind of curious of what she did. She actually guides and advocates cancer patients. She has multiple titles such as BCPA, 12-year cancer thriver, and a patient advocate, and so much more. She actually helps cancer patients navigate emotionally and also supports them through their cancer journey, as well as their families. And she offers a patient approach, which is holistic as well. So I want to welcome Talaya Dendy to my show. Talaya, welcome.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
And it's pronounced Talaya.
Oh, Talaya, sorry. It's a beautiful name, Talaya.
Thank you.
So I just want you to start off with your background. And I know I probably got your titles a little messed up, but
That's okay.
There's so many of them. So why don't you share that with us?
Sure. So I am a 12-year cancer survivor. I am also a board certified patient advocate, as well as a cancer doula and health advocate for diversity. So,
and your company is On the Other Side. So
yes.
You were a cancer patient that became a CEO, and the company's On the Other Side LLC.
Mhm.
And that's your company for being for guiding others through their cancer journey.
Yes. And I actually started my organization really out of the needs that I had when I was navigating cancer myself. And so even though I had a great oncologist, a great healthcare system that I was blessed to be a part of, there were still a lot of gaps in my care. And so I said, if I have a good oncologist and I'm having these gaps and missing things that I need. Other people must be as well. And so that is why I started my organization to really help other people.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, what was your focus in your life before you got diagnosed with cancer?
Sure. So prior to being diagnosed with cancer, like every person in their early 30s, I was interested in really not navigating, but climbing the corporate ladder. I wanted to be maybe the next top manager or something like that, but really just climbing the corporate ladder, focused, getting ready to focus on having children, starting a family, that kind of thing. But unfortunately, cancer showed up and that derailed everything. So,
Oh, so where were you in the corporate ladder? What kind of companies did you work for?
yeah, so I was actually working in supply chain as a supply chain analyst, and I worked for medical device and aerospace companies.
Oh, that's cool. My
Mhm.
son is studying to be an aerospace engineer. Small
Nice.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. So it's interesting that you also worked for a medical device company too. That gives you a
Yes.
little bit insight of what's going on in the medical world, doesn't it?
Yes. It
Yeah.
really does. It made it a lot easier to just really understand how behind the scenes works in terms of different medical devices and different supply chain functions and issues within the healthcare system.
Oh, that's wonderful. So how did you arrive with your cancer diagnosis? What happened?
So actually, I got my diagnosis, I always say this, a year late. So actually in 2010, I went to my primary care doctor, and after my physical exam, I pointed out to her that I had a small lump on the side of my neck. She basically blew it off and said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's probably a pulled muscle from working out so much." And so unfortunately, it didn't go away. And again, it goes back to me being so busy, too busy for myself. So I put it off for another year. And of course, I was making excuses by saying I was just too busy. You know, there was some fear involved as well. And so a year later, I just found a different doctor. And that doctor happened to be a Somali woman. Her reaction was totally different. She looked at it, she touched it, she was very concerned, and she said, "I want you to get an ultrasound right away." Got the ultrasound. That ultrasound came back inconclusive, although I knew something was wrong by the look on the technician's face. The
Oh
next
no.
step yeah, the next step was a fine needle aspiration. That is where they take a small sample of the lymph node cells and tissue and test that. That came back inconclusive because the sample size that they took was too small. Number 3, finally
Oh, wow.
finally, I had to do a biopsy of that lymph node, and the biopsy is what ultimately confirmed that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so that is how I found out. I got a call from a nurse on a Friday evening on my way home from work saying, "Sorry to tell you, you have Hodgkin's lymphoma."
Oh no, that's awful.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this prompted you with your cancer diagnosis and the background that you have.
Yep.
Did you, become a cancer doula, which is a unique name, and that there's
Mhm.
also people that call themselves doula to help people with breastfeeding and things like that.
Yeah.
So, pretty much, is this why you're doing this work because of what happened to you?
Yes, actually, as I mentioned earlier, that is what prompted me to do this work. I believe that it's part of my purpose. I was fairly healthy before being diagnosed with cancer. So, in some ways, I feel like cancer showed up in my life to really open my eyes about some things that needed to change, and it led me to my purpose. And so, the point of me becoming a cancer doula is because of my journey and all the different things that I had to learn, all the different things that I experienced. I wanted to help other people not be so stressed out, not feel so lost in this whole thing, the healthcare system, learning about cancer. Just wanted to be able to lighten individuals' loads who gets that diagnosis.
Okay. So you know the emotional heaviness of the whole experience and so much doubt and unknown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you experienced yourself firsthand. So,
Yeah. It's
can you give
tough.
us an idea what the ideal client experience is with your client?
Yeah. Sure. So basically, I just want to point out that I do support individuals and families. So, one way to get started is I offer a 30-minute meet and greet. That is where the person calls, or we have a phone call. They share with me the challenges that they're facing, and I share with them how I can support them. And just share different resources and things like that that can help them. That's whether they work with me or not. After that meet and greet call, I send a follow up email that basically summarizes what we've talked about and any resources mentioned. If they choose to work with me, then they go ahead and they decide if they want to do just hourly sessions, if they want to work together for a month or 3 months. And that's how that journey begins.
Okay, so how long do normally people work with you on them?
Typically, Typically, people work with me 1 to 3 months. The hourly sessions, Debbie, are typically for people who have just a quick question. They're not in need of emotional support at that time, but they have, for example, here's an example. Hey, I have this big um, test coming up tomorrow. I'm really nervous about it. I want to make sure I ask all the right questions. Can you help me brainstorm some questions? So that's an example of someone who would just pop in for an hourly session.
Okay, so you obviously do you do things, hand holding in person or all virtual?
Right now, Debbie, it's all virtual. I've helped one person in person, and that was because they actually wanted me to attend a doctor's appointment with them. Unfortunately, they didn't have any family or friends around that could support them at that time. And so I went in person and just, served as their advocate there. But typically, Debbie, it is virtual.
Yeah, I do virtual
Mhm,
too, but I also can do it in person.
mhm,
Um, n Now you have a podcast, which that's how we met. I was a guest on
mhm.
your podcast called Navigating Cancer Together. Why did you start your podcast, and who exactly is your audience?
Sure. So, my podcast, Debbie, is an extension of my business. So, unfortunately, the services that I provide are not covered by insurance. So, there are people who would like to have my support, but they don't have the financial means. And so, my podcast serves to help those people who don't have the financial means, but then also, it's for anyone diagnosed with cancer, their families and loved ones, their caregivers, survivors as well, and then people like you, Debbie, who are actually in the complementary professions, helping cancer patients or survivors ease their side effects and things like that. So, more of the complementary therapies.
Yeah, I offer good nutrition and nutrients and
Mhm.
and things like that to help them through their journey. So yeah. So and do people approach you to be a guest on your show, or do you actually find them yourself?
They actually well, it's 2 different ways. They actually approach me. I haven't had to really look for a guest since, I would say, 6 months after I started. But then there's people that I find I come across, they're really interesting. They have a great story or a great service that they're providing, and I actually ask them, but majority people find me.
Okay. So what channels can they find your podcast?
Sure. So they can find me basically anywhere. Apple, Amazon Music is a good one, and as well as Spotify, all the major platforms, iHeartRadio, basically everywhere. You just type in Navigating Cancer Together and it will come up for you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Do you want to highlight any special guests that you've had other than me?
Sure. So just recently, I talked to a woman who her husband was stage 4 cancer, and she wanted to be able to help her husband. He had throat cancer, and they were basically kinda saying, "Well, there's not a whole lot we can do." And so she went out, she was doing something called hyperbaric, oxygen therapy for
I know about
herself.
that. Hmm.
Yeah for herself. And so she said, well, maybe this will help my husband. So by helping her husband get started with that, that extended his life. And she actually started a business along with her partner where they have a beautiful clinic in Vancouver, Washington, and they offer light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and a whole bunch of other modalities like that.
Mhm,
Another one that I had was actually with a woman. Her name is Gwendolyn Mitchell. She is an owner of Moyo Institute in California. She does amazing work and she's really spiritual. She's more focused on the mind body connection, that kind of thing,
mhm.
and just really love the services that she has to offer.
Yeah, and the services I have to offer for cancer patients are mindset and emotion as well, because if they're in a positive mindset state, they're gonna be able to handle whatever adversity is thrown at them.
Mhm.
You know, you
Yeah,
because emotion and stress and things like that just brings down your body system, it slows it down, your metabolism slows down. Don't you agree?
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I talk about that a lot as well.
Mhm.
Mindset, all of those things are really important because if you are stressed all the time, you're depressed, that does impact your immune system. And as most people know, your immune system is already suppressed from the cancer treatment, radiation, whatever it is that you are receiving for treatment. So, the best state of mind that you can be in, the better.
And everybody, like I said, has a unique fingerprint in health, and I have people fill out a health evaluation so I can find out what their symptoms are and get and look at the areas of health to see where their concentration is, and and then I offer solutions based on that. And you know, cancer can be very tricky, can't it?
It's very tricky. Yeah. I mean, even though, for example, in my case, there was a treatment protocol that had like a 80 to 90% effective rate, meaning that more than likely this treatment will work for just about anyone and you are less likely to have reoccurrence. Well, for some people, unfortunately, that treatment protocol did not work. And
Oh,
so they had to find different ways to treat their cancer. And
mhm.
so it really depends. I believe the health that you are in prior to a cancer diagnosis, the mind state that you're in once you get diagnosed, and how much support you have. So I really believe all of those things play a big part.
They certainly do. And it's really important, like people like us work in tandem with the medical community because they are treating them, with different things that we make got to make sure it works for them as well. And I always say you need to talk to your doctor. So, that's really important. I'm sure you do that too, but you guide them with questions so they can ask their doctors in an intelligent fashion so they can get the right answers. Because I know with some cancer patients, they just don't know what to ask.
They don't know what to ask. They sometimes don't know what they need, and that's understandable if they've never been diagnosed with cancer before. And one thing I want to point out is I don't diagnose anyone, I don't tell anyone what they should or should not do. I just provide the information and I help them work through their decision making process. I may ask questions that they have not, thought to ask. I give them different perspectives and just guide them and hold their hand along the way and support them. That's really critical.
Yes, it is. And that's what I do too. Like I said at the beginning, I don't diagnose or treat or prevent. I just guide people with good nutrition and nutrients and mindset coaching as well as emotional.
Mhm.
But all this stuff about reframing the mindset, bringing down the emotional set will just make their body function better
Yeah,
and can reduce symptoms. But when it comes to cancer, you really need to have the guidance of the doctor as well and work in tandem. So that's very important.
absolutely.
Okay. Now, I noticed that, you actually have some special achievements that you've earned. So what are those?
Sure. So, really, one thing that I've mentioned a little bit earlier was the Moyo Institute. And I've been involved in this project called Love Letters to Our Bodies. That project is specifically for African American or Black women who have been diagnosed with some form of cancer. That project was started by the Moyo Institute because African American or Black people in general have a higher incidence rate of cancer as well as a higher mortality rate of cancer. And
Mm.
so, Love Letters to Our Bodies workshop was really started to help cultivate and bring together the mind body connection for people who are not aware of that. And it's a great workshop where we do meditation, we do journaling, we share our stories and support each other. And the love letters that we have written to our bodies have actually been published in a book. And so that was something really near and dear to my heart. I'm really big on the mind body connection that as we've been talking about here most of the conversation. And then also just being really able to come together in community with other women that have been impacted by cancer. And Debbie, as you know, a lot of women struggle with their body image even if they don't have cancer. And so just being able to come together and just talk about all those things was really a blessing.
Yes, it's a real blessing because people really need to be aware of their health and also do self-care and self-love, you know, and be grateful for, things going on in their life, even though it may be a journey for them, is the best way to put it. Because it can become a learning lesson
Mhm.
and, figuring out what is best for them and what they can do for their bodies, what they can do to self-love. And, with mindset and emotion, obviously I work with reframing people's thoughts and things like that. But I also have neural tools and binaurals I have people listen to start making them love themselves. I don't know if you know about Louise Hayes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
self-love. She has a book about, you can heal your body, type of
Mhm.
thing, just with self-love
Yeah.
and not being so judgmental on yourself. And the whole point is that you need to be aware that this came about because it just came about, you know?
Mhm.
And it's nothing anything that you did wrong,
Right.
okay? And you can, raise your mindset up to a level where you can handle anything and move forward.
Right.
And there's ways to reduce anxiety. There's ways to reduce, overwhelm. Because a lot of these patients become overwhelmed, don't they?
Absolutely. They do become overwhelmed. They self-blame, they self-criticize. What did I do wrong? And there's nothing wrong with them or any of us. There's nothing that we've done wrong. It's just something that happens. You know, some cells went rogue and hey, here we are with this cancer diagnosis. And so I try to really take people away from that mindset of, oh, I did something wrong. And hey, let's focus on how you can move forward and get through this. But then also creating the quality of life that you want after the treatment is over. And so just keeping that in front of people, making sure that they are focusing on other areas of their lives that they could be improving while they're going through this cancer journey, thinking about what is really important to them, what it is that they want, and just helping them work through that and explore those areas is very important as well.
Yeah, I have people, I help people with weight release and I have people envision a new version of themselves because that really brings them to fruition.
Mhm.
And if your cancer patients, your clients can envision a new version of themselves, what they're going to do with their life, what their life is going to be like in all emotional sets, all senses, they're going to get there because they are tuned into that. It's almost like an affirmation process, and it can be an affirmation process, but it's a way of putting these thoughts in their mind and their subconscious so that it paves the way to a healthier life. Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, it really helps them it gives them hope. It gives them something to aspire to work towards. And I think that's very important, especially when someone has a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. They
Mhm.
need something to provide inspiration, hope, something for them to hold on to, their why, so to speak. And so I think that that's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they may have family members that they wanna see married. They may have family
Mhm.
members they want to see grow up
Yeah.
and get married and have children and be there for
Mhm.
them. So all that is just inspiration to keep on being strong
Yeah.
emotionally and their mindset and get them down the road to a healthier you, so to speak.
Mhm.
So
That's right.
that, that project, the love letters, that is a wonderful project. I just, it's a great idea, because, as you know, I recently wrote a book, and
Mhm.
it's when you write a chapter or just do something like that, a love letter, it's kind of therapeutic,
It is. Yeah. Mhm.
and it puts you, helps you put your past into your past because this is now, that was then,
Yeah,
and
it's a release.
it's a
Mhm.
release, exactly, and it's a wonderful way to, when you release this, it's a wonderful way to take in more information about what you need to do now so that you can get to your end result.
Yes, so true. And one thing I really want to point out that I see a lot with the clients that I work with, it starts out being about cancer, Debbie, but ultimately there is a lot of trauma that many of us have
Mhm,
experienced that we have not worked through and dealt with.
mhm,
And unfortunately, sometimes that can manifest into other things, other health related issues. And so I think it's really important for people to before they get sick to address any of those traumas that they're holding on to because that's being stored in your body. And it's very important to address those things and work through them because the body and the mind work together. That's what we've been talking about this whole time. And that's a message that I really want to drive home to people is that you don't have to be sick to take care of those other areas of your life. It's better
mhm.
to do it before because that might actually save your life, so
Exactly, and with people
mhm.
that are overweight, sometimes it's a traumatic event in their life,
Yes.
and they're holding
Yep.
on to that weight as a protection device,
Yes, you're
almost like a
right,
life
Debbie.
preserver in a way.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and they can like me, they can step out of that fat suit and be healthier and happier with their body functioning more efficiently
Yeah,
and getting, and enjoying life a lot better and also being more productive,
so
you know?
true. So true. Debbie, I have a quick question since you mentioned your experience. What did you find that you were holding on to at that time?
Well, it relates to my chapter in my book, Rising Over Overwhelmed to Empowerment. I was pulled in many different directions by having to take care of a mom that was declining with dementia and Alzheimer's, and a
Mm,
child who had, some special needs type of things going on, an early infant when he was an infant. So I was taking care of everybody else and not taking care of myself.
yeah,
And
a lot of women.
that's why, like you and me, I became very aware of how, I saw this picture in a holiday card. I'm like, oh, what
Yeah.
happened to me?
Mhm.
I gained 70 pounds,
Mm,
and I didn't know I did that because I wasn't paying attention to myself. Like so many people do, including yourself, you kind of let a year go by, right?
mhm. It
And so
happens.
it happens. And you can't, beat yourself up that it happened. You could do something about it. And
Mhm.
it was really nice that my husband gave me a gift of health for Christmas, and I
Yeah.
committed to it, and I released, initially 50 and then eventually 70, and I became a runner and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mhm.
But, because of that journey, I just became passionate to make people aware that you need to pay attention to yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
over time, I learned about the mindset and the neuralistic, you know, tools I can use for people because it really makes it easier to release
Mhm.
all these emotions and release the stress that you have and feel better
Yeah.
overall.
Yes.
Because we're in a chaotic world right now, aren't we?
It's very chaotic. And to your point, Debbie, it's really like that analogy that they say, make sure you put your oxygen mask on first. And that's
Exactly.
what I keep in the back of my mind. Okay, if I'm not prepared, if I don't have my oxygen mask on, I can't help anyone else. And so that's something that I try to keep in the back of my mind.
Yeah, and I tell people that all the time, we can't
Mhm.
control what's going on around us. We can only control how we react to it,
That's right.
how
Yeah.
we can, what we're doing about it, how it's making us feel emotionally, and learn to release it, and get over it.
Yeah. Yes.
And and all of it's a learning lesson for me as I went through it, and I'm sure it was a learning lesson for you.
Absolutely.
So we're
And
both advocates for that, for both mind and
yeah.
body.
Yeah. And I think it's so important for people to realize that even for me, you go through tough things in life, and there's usually a lesson behind it, and there's something better on the other side of it if you take the time to explore and
Mhm.
really dig deep and see what's really going on at the core. That's why I say it's though all the conversations I have start out being about cancer, but it's so much more. Taking that time for yourself and really looking at what you're going through and figuring out, well, what can I get from this? What can I learn from this? And how can I take what I've been through and be better?
Exactly, and sometimes, an advocate or a coach like us can give
Mhm.
somebody a different perspective.
Yeah.
If you think about a camera has different camera angles, that different perspective just gives the person an insight like, "Oh, I never thought of that."
Mhm.
And then it kinda gives them a little bit of a pivot, a shift to move
Exactly.
down that positive route, because you always have 2 choices in life, right?
Yeah. And
And sometimes you just need that guiding hand. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, "Oh, I can't afford a coach." Well,
mhm.
maybe you need to, think about, a coach when you're in certain life conditions,
Yeah.
and because people can help you because 'cause they've had the experience.
Mhm.
And then maybe you can learn from that coach, and you can be an advocate yourself.
That's right.
And
That's
I have
right.
coaches that I help as well. So that's my whole point. It's like, you know, if this is a desire you want to do to up-level someone's health, get yourself a coach.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned being your own advocate. I think self-advocacy is so important, and some people don't know what that looks like, especially when they are facing something like cancer. There's so many people, Debbie, that feel like, "Oh, I just have to do whatever, the doctor says." But it's like you have to be a participant in your care. Ask those questions. If something's not being explained to you in a way that you understand it, express that and say, "Hey, I need for you to explain it in a different way so that I can understand what you're saying." Because what you're saying is important and it's a part of me being able to make the best decision for myself and my care. So that is so important. That's one of the things that I help people do is to be their own best advocate. It's critical. And being able to help a loved one too when they're going through a big health challenge and they're not sure what to do or what questions to ask, being able to help your loved ones is important as well.
Yes, it is. It really is. There's a lot of people that just need some guidance,
Yeah,
and that's what we both do, and it's but a lot of people don't know about what we offer, and that's why we need to get the word
yeah,
out, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And, it's interesting that, I know you work with women. Do you work with
Mhm.
men too?
Yes, actually, majority of my clients are women. I do work with men when they reach out to me, and speaking of that, I just want men to know that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it really can have a big impact on your life, asking for help. And you don't have to be macho all the time. Just like women say, we have to take our capes off. We can't be Wonder Woman all the time. Like men, you don't have to be macho and strong and all those things all the time. I think it's really important to understand that you have needs as well. and your needs deserve to be met as well.
Exactly. I have a few clients that are men, mostly are women. I
Mhm.
think women are just more in tune to do something about their health, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I'm working with somebody right now, and he's welcome to reach out to me whenever he wants to. And he's 77 years old.
Oh, wow. Mhm. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Do you work with patients that old?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, there's a lady that I was working with recently, and I think she was like 73, 74. So that's been the oldest, but still has her spunk and everything. So,
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know if you know this, but women, people can live to 125 years old.
oh, yeah,
And a
absolutely.
lot of people just don't realize that. So take charge of your health
Hmm.
so that you can enjoy your life. Because
Yeah,
whether it's work, relationships, health, you know, you need to take control of your life and enjoy it because that's what you're here for, isn't it?
that's right. That's right. And don't listen to the people that say, for women especially, that your life is over when you hit 30. No
Oh,
way. Don't
no.
listen to those people.
Age is only a number.
Exactly. It's like, "Oh, you're 30, your life is over." It's like, "No, no,
No.
30, you're just really starting to get going, you know? There's so much to learn, so much to do in life, and I just really don't like when people end it early for other people. It's like, no, just because you're 30, 60, 70, 80, you can still live a good life.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Um, Now you mentioned your program that you have. What was it called
Mhm.
again?
Yeah, so Cancer Doula support services are
Mhm.
what I offer through On the Other Side. I have hourly sessions, one off sessions. I also have a 1 month program and a 3 month program. And earlier this spring, I actually started a pen pal support offering where that communication is via email. And that is at a lower price point for people. But then also people who just feel like, I don't want to meet every week via Zoom. Let's just communicate via email. And for creatives as well, it's a good option because they're able to get everything written down and they can keep those records and see the progress that they've been making on their cancer journey.
That's really wonderful that you do that because some people don't want to spend the time watching a video if you send them a
Yeah.
recorded video. And when
Yeah.
it's written down, they can just glance at, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. So that's
That's
a
right.
wonderful idea.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. And do you have any offers you can offer up my audience today?
Uh, Sure. So, actually, as I mentioned earlier, the first step is to set up that 30-minute meet and greet call. That call is $30. And after that session, you get a follow up email, as I mentioned, that has resources that I've shared with you, a summary of what we've talked about, as well as ways to move forward. And so that's the offer that I have right now to get started. And if there's anyone in your audience, Debbie, who's really interested and they're like, oh, I just can't afford it, I'm willing to offer a 10% discount as well for those people. And they can just email me and say, hey, I watched your episode on Debbie's podcast and hey, I'd like to take advantage of that 10% off. And you can just email me at Talaya, Talaya, at ontheotherside.life.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I wanted to offer a gift to anybody that's, like women that lose their hair
Yeah, yeah.
due to cancer treatment. And
Mhm.
men, I don't know if they want this offer, but I have a friend that actually has a that's okay. I have a friend that actually crochets hats for high-end boutiques, and she uses like silk and velvet and other materials to create these hats. And they're appliques, there's flower appliques and things like that. And during this journey, don't you agree that we need to look pretty, make us
Well,
feel
yeah, for some people, yeah, that's a big
better?
deal. Yeah.
And they sell really well at the high end boutiques, and my friend is named Betty Winthrow, and they can reach out to her at info, INFO, at Betty, BETTY, of Big Sur, BIGSUR, you guys know how to spell .com. And she'll send you information about what she has, and or what she can make him, for you custom. I think that's something that your patients would like too, huh?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can utilize her too. She's a really nice
Sounds
lady.
good.
And do you have any other offers you want to offer before we wrap up the show?
No, not at this time. That's everything that I have right now. Debbie, thank you so much.
Okay. Well, I'm going to wrap up the show. Stay on. So, one thing I want to offer, have you remember is that tickets are still available for my in-person event in Huntington Beach on November 11th. Ben Fuchs will be talking about um, the triangle of disease. He's going to give you solutions. And remember, he is a health, nutrition, fitness, and a skin care specialist. And you're welcome to ask him questions. I even did a podcast with him. On my show, I did a show with him, and he was my second show. So if you want to get a taste of what Ben offers, you can look at that show. But it's so much better to do it in person because you actually ask him these questions in person. Because maybe something will drum up an idea, and you can just raise your hand and ask him, and he'll give you some solutions. So the tickets are still available. Ticket sales are going to close up tomorrow, and you can get that at https://bit.ly, bit.ly / then with a capital B, E-N, capital F for Fuchs, UCH, and then capital L and I and lowercase v and E for live. And once the ticket sales close online, you can still come in person as long as we have space available. You won't know until you get there, and the tickets will be a little bit higher. And Talia, do you want to share your book at all?
Sure. So basically, I was a co-contributor for a book called I Survived Cancer and Here's How We Do It, How We Did It. And you can actually find that on Amazon.com. And then also Love Letters to Our Bodies. You can find that online at moyoinstitute.com. And there is a program section at the top of the website. Click that and it will take you to the Love Letters to Our Bodies page. Thank you.
Okay, that's wonderful. And if you want a copy of my book, it is 25 women sharing their journeys. Again, my book is has my chapter is Rising Over Overwhelm to Empowerment, and you get copies for $20 or a signed copy for $25. And you can email me at my link tree, which is https://www.Debi Changes Life, like this radio TV show, DEBICHANGES Lives, LIV as in Victor, ES.com/linktree, LIN as in Nancy, KTREE. And at the same link tree, we have where you can sign up for a consultation with me, a complimentary consultation. There's just multiple buttons on this link tree, so they can actually subscribe, to my email, or they can also do it as set up an appointment, and I offer a 15-minute complimentary consultation. And if people want more information from upcoming shows like this one, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and this is a new link. It is https://bit.ly, bit.ly/radio TV show. And if you want me to spell it out, it's radio, RADIO, T as in Tom, V as in Victor, show, SHOW. And I'm giving you, when you subscribe, which flashed up there brief a second ago, a complimentary health and wellness journal, which is a 30-day health and wellness for both health and mindset. And it's a daily action journal that you can download, and you can actually track your emotions. There's mindset quotes in there. You can also track how your day went at the end emotionally. You can track your foods that you eat, see what foods work for you and what foods don't work for you. And they definitely would work for, Talia's clients as well, won't they? This health
Sure.
journey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do it monthly. And what's really great is when you look back at everything, when you track and journal, you can see what you can do about, improving yourself in certain areas that maybe you overlooked in the past. Journaling for gratitude is just very important, and seeing where your emotional state is, and so that you can actually be your own advocate and up-level your mindset and your health. So it's a great little tool to use. So, Talia, and I'm sorry if I'm pronounced your name wrong.
Talaya.
Talaya. Um, I really enjoyed having you on my show, and maybe we can do this again on each other's
Yes.
shows, okay?
Thank you.
And
Thanks for having me.
I just want to hope everybody enjoyed the show and got some really good information from it. And continue watching my show, which is a radio TV show called Debi Changes Lives, because this is where your holistic journey begins.